Hey everyone, I'm going to go over some reference or thesaurus or dictionary skills with you. I'm going to take just a moment. I apologize. I want to move my camera and put myself back where I belong. There we go. All right, so here I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the major features you're going to find when you're going through a dictionary or you're going through a thesaurus. They typically have a lot of the same things. So if you notice there are some fill in the blanks, I'm going to go in with you. So first being, we have these bold words that pop up like bomb, bone, border, bore, born, bonfire. Those big words that are individually bolded, those are individual entries. We typically call those head words. So I'm going to type that in. Head words are the words that let you know you have a separate entry. They've moved on to a new term. They've moved on to a different word that you're looking up for information. Now, if we're looking at the top of a page, they typically have two words at the top of both pages, so you'll notice that there's kind of this empty space. It's representing two sides to a book. So on one page we have bottom to bottle, the next page we have bottom to braille. So when we're looking at that, those are what we call our guide words. Those let us know I can look for, type that in, I can look for all words between that alphabetically, because dictionaries, thesauruses, all of those reference skills, all of those books are going to be set up alphabetically, which means anything that lands between the B-O-N-B to B-O-T is going to be on that first page. On the next page, we move from B-O-T to B-R. We notice that there's a big shift there. That third thing you're seeing over here when we look next to our head word, in also typically a bold setting but a different text, is what we call the part of speech. This is when you can kind of check and make sure you're looking up the right term, because if we're talking about see the water versus seeing something, those are going to be two different parts of speeches. So part of speech can be really helpful when making sure that you're looking up the right term. Then underneath that, number 4, you can maybe see it up just a tiny bit inside of set of parentheses. Typically, you're going to see the word broken down into what we consider the syllables. And this is where they tell you how to pronounce the word. So the pronunciation is going to be inside of set of parentheses. I'm going to scroll down because there are a few other key pieces that you want to be able to see. So as we continue to scroll, oops, let me shift myself back over. Had to get rid of that box. So as you drop down, just because of spacing, all of these words still have the head word. They have the part of speech. They have inside a set of parentheses how you're going to pronounce it. You're also going to find that they offer the definition after that. So here we can find the definition of the term, which is oftentimes what you're looking for if you're using a dictionary, maybe not necessarily if you're using a thesaurus, but if you're using a dictionary, you're oftentimes looking up the word. Then you might have the different endings. So this is what we call like the different forms for a word, but really what it means is if you're talking about it in a different tense. So last week we talked about subject-verb agreement. So if we're talking about running versus run or ran, this is where those different variations are going to pop up, so that if spelling is an issue or you're trying to figure out the part of speech, you can do that here. So we call that the other forms, but really it means the different tenses you might be dealing with. Then they have this thing where it is technically labeled, whether it's a formal term or it's an informal term. This isn't something I necessarily want you to worry about, but because it's a part of this particular page, I do want to acknowledge it. So this is kind of talking about what part of speech in terms of verbiage are we looking at? They oftentimes in a thesaurus or a dictionary are also going to offer you an example sentence. So they're going to put it in a sentence for you so that you can understand how that word is used. And I misspelled that. We got to go back in. There we go. An example sentence just to kind of give you an idea of how that word might be used in different scenarios. Because you might also notice that there are sometimes multiple definitions to the same word that is spelt the same way. And it's not necessarily that it's dramatically different, but over time the word has been modified to have a few different meanings, probably not too far off from what we commonly use, but there are adjustments that can be made, which is why you might have multiple examples of sentences. Lastly, some of our dictionaries are going to have letters on the side. This is especially common if you're dealing with an encyclopedia or a young adolescent dictionary where they try and label those sections for you. It might even be color-coded depending on the type of text you're dealing with. So that side piece isn't necessarily there for everything, but the alphabetical reference there we go. So the alphabetical reference is something that is oftentimes found in a younger text, but it's something to be aware of as you kind of work through the world of reference tools. So I hope that this is really helpful for you. The main parts you're going to want to pay attention to, truthfully, are going to be the guide words that help you find what page you need to be on to figure out if you are close to finding that word, the head words, and I would say probably either part of speech and the definition. Pronunciation can be really helpful if you're trying to figure out a new term, but really oftentimes we're going in for the definition, we're going in for the part of speech, or we're going in for spelling. So using those kind of top key pieces can be very helpful. I hope this helps you as you work through your reference skills this week. Talk to you soon.